Hello everyone. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. My name's Rebecca and I'm so glad you're here. I love talking about wellness and I love sharing it with people. If we haven't met, I teach yoga and meditation at the country club and really love it and meet all kinds of people that have all kinds of lovely self-care tools that they use, and I just think it's a very, very important part of what we're doing, especially now during this time of uncertainty. And this whole thing has certainly shifted what we knew as our normal routines, right? So this is the third of the of 4 series in Wellness Wednesday, and they're really just short chats about reminders, really, of different ways of taking care of ourselves. And I think that we all try to do that to a certain extent, but sometimes life takes over and we fall out of these habits that we know are good for us. So I'm here as just a gentle reminder of thinking of ways that you can take care of yourself. So the first, in this 4-part series, the first thing that we talked about was shifting from the external world and our lives before all of this, into the internal world of our homes as we are trying to stay safe, and also more of an internal perspective, more introspection, and taking the time to ask important questions about our life before all of this, COVID-19, and our life now, and what we want to go into, what we want to create as our new normal, what we want to maybe start, that we want to leave behind. This is the time to really ask those questions. So that was the first week. The second week, last week, we talked about food and digestion and how important it is, because of course we eat several times a day. Hopefully you're eating at least 3 times a day, and that it's a time of awareness, that we can actually practice awareness, because we're having to decide what we're eating, how we're eating, who we're eating with. Again, it's a time to not only think about healthy food, but how we are actually practicing the act of eating, right? It can be a meditation. And then today, the topic is moving. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 different ways of moving every week. So thinking about, okay, I've got 7 days ahead of me, maybe it's Sunday to Sunday or Sunday to Saturday, and I'm going to try to fit these 4 different things in my week. How am I going to do it? All right, so again, here, just for gentle reminders of things that you can think about as you head into your week. So most important of all to consider is that we are designed to move. We are in a dynamic body that is so magnificent, the way that it's engineered, and we really are designed to move. We're not designed to sit and stay still for long periods of time. Of course, we need rest, and we're going to talk about rest and sleep next Wednesday, but moving is really something that we don't tend to do enough of as a culture. We tend to sit a lot because we have cars and furniture and, of course, technology that we sit in front of. Some of us stand, but as a norm, we're sitting in front of some sort of computer. You're probably sitting now watching this, right? I'm sitting giving this talk. So we sit a lot more than we realize. They say now that sitting is the new smoking, that it's got, really some harmful effects on our bodies that we're going to see over time. So again, we're designed to move, and we did it naturally when we were children. So just the shortest exercise here, I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself as a child. And watch what you're doing. Watch how you're moving. You're not exercising, you're playing. Maybe you're running. Maybe you're riding your bike. I know my bike had a beautiful pair of purple streamers and a basket on the front. Maybe you're on roller skates. Maybe you're jumping or rolling around on the grass. Maybe you're scooting or twirling or climbing a tree. Remember all of the outdoor lawn sports and the fun games? So go ahead and open your eyes again. So the point is, we automatically moved without thinking about it. Then life happened and we became adults. And that, of course, comes along with schedules and responsibilities and things that must be done. And we rarely think about movement as play anymore. Maybe you do, I hope you do, but it's not the norm. And we have so many things to distract us from exercise that sometimes I think that we can get in a good routine and then life shifts and that routine can easily get lost. So what's the best form of exercise? The very best form of exercise is the one that you will do. It's really that simple. So thinking about what you used to like, what you like now, maybe it's a sport that you've played all of your life, and thinking about, I really enjoyed that when I was younger. Maybe you can or can't do that right now, maybe a variation of it, but thinking about what you like, because if you choose types of movements that you don't like, inevitably you're going to stop, right? So studies around moving and health and weight loss show that weight loss is linked more closely to whether a person sticks to their fitness routine rather than the routine itself. So it's important that you pick something you like. A routine you enjoy will give you health goals that you're seeking, but you have to move. You have to move. We're designed to move. And why? Well, we know that movement has tons of benefits, but I found this interesting. So movement increases the brain production of a protein called brain-derived neurotropic factor. And maybe if you're a doctor or neurologist, you work in the health field, you know about this. But it helps neurons survive, and it promotes making and growing new ones. So very, very important for movement in our nervous system. And when you exercise, you're also improving your mood, your memory, and your creativity. So we think about it from, a muscle standpoint or whatever, the physical structure of our body, but it has a huge effect on our brain and our nervous system and all of our organs and everything. So the fitness industry has made it seem like movement is really complicated, but it's not. And we don't need to do things a certain way. We really need to find things that we enjoy and go out and do them. So traditional fitness involves strength and endurance and flexibility, and all of those are important to maintain certainly throughout our lifetime. But coming from a yoga perspective, I really think that adding that mind-body connection is just as important as the strength, the endurance, and the flexibility. Because certainly we need to be aware of how we're moving, what we like to move, how often we're doing it, all those aspects. But we have to be mindful of our body as it is. So we all come into whatever exercise we like with different issues, right? Maybe we're 20-some and we're young and fit and we don't have any aches or pains in the body. Maybe you're an elite athlete and you are recovering from injuries. Maybe your body is older and you have old injuries or arthritis in your joints or post-surgeries. There's so many factors that go into who we are individually and how we're moving. So this idea of the mind-body connection and being aware is very, very important because we want to exercise, we want to enjoy it, and we don't want to injure ourselves. And the whole idea of being in pain to gain something is not really the way that I choose to go about moving. Maybe you do, but knowing that we can get all the benefits from exercise without pushing ourselves to the point where we're injuring ourselves, because that will eventually catch up with us. All right, so each week, this is what I'm offering to you. Follow these 4 things. Yoga, do some resistance training where you're working on strengthening your body. Walk or do what I call woggling, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And then do something you love, right? Simple. So starting with yoga, because of course I'm a little biased. I've done yoga for, 30 years now. I started when my son was born, and it's a practice that has kept me strong, and it's a practice that's gotten me through different injuries. I was a runner and a triathlete for years, and I've always come back to my yoga practice. It's always been the base for all other sports or activities that I've ever done. Now, when I meet people out and about, at least before all this, I was at a social occasion, they'd say, "What do you do?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'm a yoga teacher." And so often, people would say, "Oh, I love the idea of yoga, but I'm not flexible. I can't do yoga." And I would kindly suggest that yoga is not about flexibility. Yoga is about awareness. So yes, we do move and breathe through our practice, which brings awareness of the body, but we also do meditation and other things that bring awareness to different parts of who we are as a whole being. And flexibility really isn't something that we should all try to gain more of. Maybe if you are tight in your body from other things, flexibility can be an important thing to add to what you're doing to keep your body strong and supple so you can do the things that you want. But some people are born hyper-flexible and they already have too much flexibility in their body and they need to work more on resistance. So please just remember, if you're considering yoga or you want to try yoga, that you can come with a very stiff body and it's fine. You're probably going to have less injuries than someone who's hyper-flexible with yoga, so it's actually not a bad thing. But over time, that flexibility does improve. And what my students tell me all the time, what I see all the time, is that any other physical thing that you're participating in is going to improve if you do yoga, because it will prevent things from, getting tight and injuring yourself. So you don't have to be flexible. It's not about standing on your head. We don't do anything that's going to be a high risk sort of thing. It's about awareness and connecting to the moment. And did you know that certain poses in yoga do certain things? So I'm a yoga therapist. I use it therapeutically with people. I can work one-on-one with people if they're having a particular issue in their body or even in their life. And a lot of people don't realize that these yogis 5,000 years ago were really smart. And they put together these poses that have therapeutic benefits. So there are certain poses that stimulate your body and wake you up and stimulate your nervous system. So that's usually a practice that we would do in the morning. Let's say you get up and maybe you didn't sleep well, you're feeling a little or you can't go outside and do what you normally do, or let's say you've got a stressful meeting that you're a little anxious about, and you just want to feel like alive and ready and awake. There are certain poses, a lot of them that involve extension of the spine, where you're extending back and opening your body, are very stimulating to your nervous system. So it gives you a little lift, a natural lift. And then there are certain poses in yoga that do the opposite. They settle the body. They wind the nervous system down. So those are the types of practices we would do in the evening before bed. And we're going to talk more about that next Wednesday when we talk about sleep. So you can use yoga as a therapeutic tool for what your body needs. Did you know that? It's fascinating, isn't it? We're not just moving without intention. All of these poses that we do in our practice are for a purpose. And also it builds core strength and stability very deep along your spine, to move freely, to be able to just take off and run, or be efficient at a sport, or feel good when you're just moving around your house or walking. The body needs to be very stable deep inside of itself. So the deep stabilizer muscles need to be strong, and the more superficial muscles that are on the periphery of your body need to be flexible. So that's really that balance that we try to shoot for in yoga. All right, the second thing of the 4 things to do every week is resistance training. And there's good news about it, and there's bad news about it. The bad news first. Starting in your 30s, you lose a half a pound of muscle every year if you aren't involved in strength training. So it happens younger than we think, and it just automatically happens. We need to do more strength training the older we get. So when this atrophy happens, the muscle mass decreases, and guess what increases? The fat. And that's why it's easy to become weak and feel kind of like flabby and untoned as we age. So, I've met people in their 70s and 80s, and they just kind of use age as I'm old, I'm old. So they feel old, and they have this kind of idea that because of their number, that it's okay to lose strength and gain a lot of extra fat, especially visceral fat around their organs. And of course, they don't move well or feel well. So it's not necessary, right? We can feel, of course we're going to age, and of course our bodies are going to change, and we totally respect that. We do what our body needs at the time, but we keep going with the resistance training, with the exercises that we can do safely, and not give in to this idea of just because your number is higher that you will automatically feel old. So that's where strength and resistance training comes in. And besides, when we're not as strong as we can be, we're more susceptible to injuries. I hear a lot from people who don't do strength training how much their back hurts. And we are also, we end up with increased susceptibility to lifestyle diseases like hypertension and diabetes and obesity and cancer. All of those things because we're sitting more, we feel weak, we don't have the energy to go out and do the things that keep these diseases away. So many reasons to do strength training. Now the good news is that resistance training 2 to 3 times a week that targets all the muscle groups is the most effective to counter that muscle loss. So you only need to do it 2 to 3 times a week. It's not like you have to, do a bunch of strength training every day. Everyone can build muscle no matter their age, and we need to stimulate the muscles and develop through strength training to promote our strong muscles, tendons, ligaments, and our bones. So just going through a resistive exercise will not only increase the muscle strength and adaptability, but it addresses all of the connective tissues too, the tendons, the ligaments, the fascia. It keeps our bones strong and healthy. So You can use weights, you can use bands. Of course, now we can't go to the gyms. We will get there again, but you don't need a gym to do strength training. There's tons of online classes, of course. There is the option of perhaps getting a personal trainer or someone you know who might guide you through the exercises that they do. You can easily buy weights or use things around your house. Gallon jugs filled at different levels can certainly take the place of weights. You can order resistance bands, or you can use no weight at all. There's lots of movement that involves just a lot of like reaching and using. Right now I'm using all the muscles in my arms to hold the lever of my arm. So there are types of strength training that involve no weight at all. And your body wants to stay strong, so it will adapt. The minute you start, you'll start to feel it because it wants to stay strong and healthy. And it's said that you can notice the difference in your actual strength in as little as 2 weeks. So that's a good news. The third thing is walking or woggling. Now we all know what walking is, right? But woggling is a little bit different. And it's not a real term. It's something that a yogi friend of mine calls it when she woggles. And if you've done a yoga class, your teacher has guided you through a pose called mountain pose. It's called Tadasana. And mountain pose is where you stand with 2 feet securely on the floor, and you line your spine up in a neutral position. So your ears, your shoulders, your pelvis, and your feet are lined up. And you're activating your core. So your feet gently press down, your crown lifts up, and that automatically engages the deep stabilizer muscles in and around your spine. So it looks like you're just standing there, but you're not. It's a very active pose, and we think about that as we walk. That's why it's called woggling, because sometimes when we walk without awareness, the upper body can lead. If you watch people walking for exercise, it's kind of like they're sitting in front of the computer. It's that same posturing. The upper back is rounded, the head is leading, and the arms are doing this, right? And they, yes, of course, are getting some benefit. But if you are in that upright mountain position, you are walking in more of a neutral spine. Your core has to work to lift you up. And then you take the biggest stride forward as you can and actively push off the back foot. So you're pushing off and you're propelling yourself forward. Your head is not leading, your head is up. Of course, your arms and your ribs are moving. There's always a little bit of twist in the upper body with walking or woggling. But essentially, it's a more aware way of walking, okay, without that forward rounded position. So let's see, what else? It's low impact, right? It's that upright posture. You're propelling yourself forward. And what about the pace? The pace is you can carry on a conversation, so you're a little bit winded, but you can talk, and you can feel your heart working. And the body is relaxed without the tension of like running, right? I was a runner for years. I loved it, but it's a lot more for the body to try to do. So it's a lot higher impact. The muscles are working harder. And to be honest, sometimes I see these runners and they look absolutely miserable. The look on their face is like all tense and everything is really intense. So walking or woggling is an alternative. It improves your posture, it strengthens your body, and the heart rate improves, your breathing capacity improves, it even lowers your stress. So my suggestion is to walk or woggle outside when possible, preferably in the morning, because the light in the morning is different. It's known as blue light rays, which are gentler, and if you walk in the morning, you are moving just like any other animal in nature would, right? They automatically get up and they start moving when the sun rises. So our body is designed to do that. So if you are walking or woggling in the morning, you're helping your own natural circadian rhythm. And that helps us digest food, helps us sleep better at nighttime. So get into nature as much as you can. Because, maybe at home you have a treadmill or a bike or something like that that you're using. But more than likely, there's some sort of screen in front of you as well. And we can just zone out when we're on these machines and watch something that completely takes our attention. We don't have this awareness of what the body's doing. Am I in a good posture? Are my shoulders on the back enough to open my chest? Am I breathing? In nature, we have to be more aware because we're on a trail that we have to keep track of. We have to know where we're going. We have to watch our footing. Maybe we're climbing up some small rocks or big rocks. So get out and walk or woggle in nature as much as you can. And then, if you have the opportunity, walk barefoot on your grass. This is known as earthing, where your feet are on the earth and you are actually connecting to the earth. And it's said that we can feel or pull up the earth's energy, which is very grounding and makes us solid and resilient and less reactive. And it's just really, really good for us. Plus, from a physiological standpoint, when we're walking barefoot on the grass, we're using different muscles and fascia, and the feet is really good for our ankles. So it just challenges us a little bit different. And walking 2 to 3 miles, if you can, of course, working your way up to that if you're not used to getting out and walking or woggling. 2 to 3 times a week is great. Plus, walking is free. You need a good pair of shoes, but other than that, you can do it, whenever, and it doesn't cost anything. And it's said that we should be doing 45 to 60 minutes of cardio or low-intensity work 3 times a week. Last week we talked about eating and, what we eat, how it makes a difference in how we feel. So certainly if you are exercising more or exercising regularly, make sure that you get enough protein in. So I used the example last week of, if you weigh 140 pounds, just as an example, then half of that should be the amount of protein you're getting. So 140 pounds, 70 grams of protein a day to really encourage the body to work efficiently and build these strong muscles. You need the protein to do that. Okay, lastly, do something you love. So important. Because there's no one exercise or one exercise routine that is going to satisfy every single need that your body has. Your body will eventually adapt because that's what it does. And we need to change up the things that we do. So let's say you start a strength training program tomorrow. Maybe you stay on that for 4 weeks and then you shift and you do a different training the next month because our muscles will adapt and we become imbalanced. We want to make sure that when we move, we're trying to move as many muscles as we can. Like I said at the very beginning of this chat, we have to be able to enjoy moving like we did as a kid. So try different things, get out on your bike, or if you're not used to hiking, get into nature, find a trail. Of course, there's tons of online classes being offered currently, and many are free. Try a Zumba class or a dance class. Dance in your living room. Turn some music on that you enjoy and just move. So, I think, when was the last time that you felt strong and free in your body? Like you could just bounce up and do what you wanted to do. So some of the things that you can ask yourself as we finish up here to try to sort of initiate different ways of moving every week is, are you a goal-oriented person? And if you are, set some goals. If you're not, every week find something different that you can flow with. Do you like exercising alone or with other people? And if you need a partner, find one. They'll go wogging with you. Do you like to exercise inside or outside? Do you like music? Maybe you like silence. When do you like to exercise? Morning, evening? So those are just some things that maybe you can journal about or think about and narrow them down, because that's going to help you stick with your plan, right? We want to generate this list and really get to know ourselves with that awareness. And if we do that, if we're thoughtful about it, we're more likely to stick with it. And that's what we need to do. So keep moving. Thank you for taking this time. And I hope that there was a little gem, maybe an idea in your mind, and you went, oh, maybe I should try that again. So I encourage you this week to get out and try some new movement and go easy, respect your body, never push yourself. You have one body and it's designed to last you a long time if you treat it very well. So thank you again. I hope to see you next Wednesday for the last talk in this 4-week series. We'll be talking about sleep. And of course, that's a very important aspect of our well-being. So take good care, and I'll see you next Wednesday.